Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Pensado's Place. The man at the boards for the Anderson Paak breakout, Jhair Lazo. You're going to meet in just a second. He's a bad boy. Wanted to give you a couple of Olympic updates that I've been watching. There's a there's a center called the Olympic Broadcast Center, and the audio challenges are amazing. First ever Olympics with immersive audio using 5.4.1 with 4 overhead channels to add dimension in indoor events. But then you don't have a crowd, so they have to create artificial crowd noise. The technology is pretty new to most of the engineers. I was watching one event, which I think was synchronized diving, and the judges literally use the sound of the diving boards to award points or not. They're using 3,600 mics. There's 42 competition venues, 31 broadcast vans, and 22 fly packs, all customized to meet challenges. They've got sound design going. They've got ripple effect of delay. They are broadcasting and sending things out in Dolby Atmos with a bunch of different partners. It is a massive undertaking and allow us, our family, you guys, to look at the Olympics a little different. Who's getting gold and who's getting bronze is one thing, but keep your ears peeled for what's going on because I think those are fascinating things in terms of applications of what we do and potential jobs. So definitely check it out. Our good partners at 1500 Sound Academy, they're back in action with in-person classes. Go to 1500sound.academy, and they also have some free workshops. We teased you on the KRK Creator Classic coming up. We'll give you some updates next week on that. And now, without further ado, here's our lady, Rachel Leonard from Sweetwater. Her sound advice is on polar patterns.
Hey guys, it's Rachel Leonard from Sweetwater Studios. And in this edition of Sweetwater's Sound Advice, I'm going to talk to you about microphone polar patterns. A microphone's polar pattern tells you how much signal will be picked up from different directions. There are a few classic polar patterns that you've probably already heard of: Cardioid, Omni, and Figure of 8. Some microphones also give you the option to choose which polar pattern you want to use. Using polar patterns wisely allows you to not only pick up the signal that you want to record, but it also lets you reject the sounds that you don't want. If you use rejection to your advantage, you can really clean up a recording. Let's talk about what some of these polar patterns are and what you might use them for. First up is Omni. Omnidirectional mics are probably the easiest to understand. They pick up sound evenly in all directions, and their pickup pattern looks like a ball. These mics don't have a point of rejection, so everything would be considered on axis. These mics are great for picking up everything in a room. These sometimes get used in classical music settings in a concert hall where you want to pick up the orchestra on stage as well as some of the crowd noise in the room, something that wants to feel really natural. Omni mics are also great for drum room mics. I like to put them on the floor facing the drum kit, which makes them work a little more like a boundary mic. Gives a really cool effect and sometimes works really well in a track to just kind of give you that big drum room sound. Omni mics can also be very cool room mics in a live studio recording as well. So maybe you're recording a band in a room, maybe it's for video or something, and you want kind of that live in a room sound. You might want to put an Omni mic up, and that'll kind of capture just the general sound from the room, and then you can mix that in with your close mics to taste. It sometimes just helps make it feel more natural, like everyone's in the same space. Next up is Cardioid, which is probably the most commonly used polar pattern. Cardioid looks like a heart shape, which explains its name, and it picks up in one direction while rejecting everything at the back of the mic. These are most commonly used on vocals during live concerts. Think an SM58, since it can reject the audience noise while picking up the vocal. This is great to just reject the bleed from the audience. These mics are honestly great on just about anything: vocals, guitars, bass, horns, drums. In most situations, you'll want to pick up what's in front of the mic and reject anything at the back of it. You can reject other things in the room while you pick up what's in front of your mic to keep bleed to a minimum. For example, if you have a trumpet and a saxophone player, have them face each other and their horns pointed towards each other. Use your cardioid mics to your advantage and point the mic towards the saxophone and towards the trumpet so that both the null points of the cardioid are facing the opposite horn. That way you're gonna minimize the bleed in the room and hopefully cancel out the instrument that you're not pointing the mic at. So next is figure of 8 or bi-directional. It's exactly like it sounds. It picks up in an 8 pattern. So the front and back sides are picking up signal while the sides are rejecting. Figure of 8 mics are maybe overlooked sometimes, but they have all kinds of great uses, especially if you're looking for rejection. If you have a lot of musicians in a room together, figure of 8 can be your best friend. Use the null points to reject other musicians that are playing that you don't want bleeding into your mic. A really common use is to use figure of 8s on an acoustic guitarist who's also singing while playing. You can use 2 figure of 8 mics and aim one at the singer's mouth and away from the guitar, and the other pointed at the guitar and away from their mouth. This will give you much better isolation, which will help you out a ton in the mixing stage. It's also worth mentioning that figure of 8 mics are also great for stereo mic techniques like mid-side and blumline. Both allow you to use the stereo image in your recordings and either widen them or narrow them. I love using both of these techniques for drum room mics because you can really adjust the stereo image and add some nice depth to the kit, especially with mid-side. They're also really great in classical situations when you want to record a small ensemble or even a big ensemble and you need to create a wider sounding stereo image. There's a few other puller patterns I didn't mention that are also very useful in tons of different situations. Explore the different options and try to think about how they can improve your recordings, especially if you're recording multiple musicians in a room. Hopefully that gave you a few ideas to use puller patterns more creatively next time you record. I'm Rachel Leonard, and this has been Sweetwater's Sound Advice.
Man, this is about to meet a bad dude. And it's very funny how you and I met, which we'll talk about. Grammy winning, Grammy nominated, self-taught, self-created, and just doing incredible work. Please welcome to the place, Jhair Lazo. Jhair.
Yeah, how's it going, guys?
What's happening?
Man, it's an honor to be
I'm giving
here.
you a golf clap.
Exactly. The funny part is, God, how can I say this politically correct? Let's say that people in my tribe have creative ways of naming people. The first names are very unique and interesting. So when I called Jhair, I had not met him. And I got on the phone. The first thing I said was, oh man, incredible work. I love Black excellence. Nothing. There was just a hole, right? And I said, oh shit, he's not Black. Let's get on the phone. But he was so cool that he played along with it. And when I tried to make it look other ways, I finally called him back and said, man, I completely blew it. He said, I thought you were talking about Anderson. I was like, no, I was trying to get out of the fact I put my foot all the way down my throat. Welcome, man. The reality of it is the work is so good. And so is the story. Like, you literally are the American dream. You came, you're an immigrant, you self-taught yourself. Man, tell me the beginning and what drove you.
Man, honestly, it's funny. I've been really blessed that a lot of it has been, it's just a lot of, my career's been a lot of like full circle moments, but really my passion for music started when I was a kid, like turning on the radio and like listening to Power 106 and the beat and like all the LA stations. And, you know, Dr. Dre was just, he was my hero. Like, he's been my hero since I was a kid. Yeah. Like I knew what he did, you know, as a rapper, as a producer, I was just so into him. I just had no idea like how to do what he did, you know, what he does. And yeah, he really like that was one of the biggest like driving things for me was, man, I want to be like Dr. Dre one day. Like that's just always been a thing that I've, you know, love as a kid, you know. And then yeah, I got my first laptop when I was a senior in high school. My mom got me this little basic laptop PC joint. And yeah, I got to it. I was like, I got downloaded Fruity Loops and started making what I thought was dope beats and like fucking talking to getting my friends to come record on like really terrible microphones and just, you know, making the best of it and just having fun, you know. And at that point, that was my first piece, my first computer. So I didn't know the access I had, like the access to the information I had, like fully. Right. So I still didn't know what an engineer was at that point. You know, I figured, oh, I'm the dude making the beats. I should be the one recording them and trying to make it sound good. So yeah, it wasn't until I actually like went to audio school and I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing.
Right.
You know,
in the audio community, you've got a reputation, particularly in the engineering community, you've got a reputation for really being good with clients and running a session and projecting confidence, but keeping things going during a crisis. Can you describe a typical session where some of those things have happened and how you deal with it?
As far as dealing with clients, you said crashes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, man.
Everything, just because I can tell right now you're like just calm, you know.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I get paid for the most is how I react to everything, because man, I've been in some really interesting sessions where you have clients that are just completely like just screws loose, and you know. And you have to deal with it. You just got to put up with, when, especially like when I was starting out as an intern, I got to see like the real interactions between people. And I got to see how certain celebrities, like, or an artist and just, people in general that come around the studio, how they treat, who they think is, where they're at amongst the totem pole, of things, so you get to see like the true colors, of people as an intern. And I don't know, personally, I'm always a calm person. My fiance always just we're in the middle of planning a wedding right now, and it's just so hectic, but I try to keep it cool and, like, just cause there's things that you can control and you can't control. You know what I'm saying? And a computer crashing, I've had a computer crash in the middle of a show when I'm running playback for Anderson at the Forum.
Wow.
It's like, I'm talking the biggest show of the tour. It's the last show of the tour.
Oh my God.
We're here in LA. We're here at the Forum. I get a bunch of seats for my family. I got this whole little box section, and I'm so hyped. This is like, oh man, LA show. I'm home, my first world tour, and both my main computer and my redundant computer crash. They freeze up at like one of the biggest peaks of the set, and Anderson is like, just cut it off. Just cut it off. He's in the talkback mic, and I'm like, I'm trying, man. I'm trying to cut this thing off. Just give me a second. And like, I really had to get it together. I was like, okay, man, like, hey, it's gone to shit. We're there. We're in the muck, like it's there, like there's nothing else but just, all right, chill out, take a breath. Let these computers go down. I had to reset the computers, and they had to go off, off and play. Luckily, they're an amazing band, the Free Nationals and Anderson. Yeah. They held their own, and they really played that off, because everybody I talked to that day, what happened? I didn't know anything happened.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, everything that could go wrong went wrong that day, and yeah, I could have messed up easily by restarting the tracks, and then like trying to like the first time I ever had a crash, I definitely tried to like recover so quick where it just sounded like, what are you doing? Why are you starting the song over from the beginning again? I had learned that. So it was just like, at that point I was like, all right, cool. Just let them play out this song, and then we pick it up to the next joint and act like, just keep it pushing.
I would recommend that you not tell your fiance about this particular episode, because you just compared a wedding to an engineering gig, and that's not going to start a relationship. I know.
I was going to say, first, congratulations.
Oh, I appreciate
that. That's
a
good thing. Second, next time Anderson's at the Forum and you have a box for your family, keep a couple of chairs for your Pensado family. So that's number two.
1,000%.
No,
we're connected now.
Oh, absolutely. And I could hit Damian Smith and
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, that's family.
So,
you know, absolutely.
But thirdly, one of the kind of mantras that I have I've done it for a while. And I think what you described, tell me if this is it. See, I think that it makes not a lot of sense other than drawing from it to spend time in review. You got to spend time in solutions, going backwards and figuring out why you did this, that, and the other. That's for a different time. You got to solve and move forward. That's part of it. I don't care if you're a businessman, a creative person. If you don't do that, you're just looking over your shoulder. You're just working backwards. So
1,000%.
So to the audience, the important thing that you should get from Jhair is, one, soft skills are important. Two, you can get there with a little piece of gear with some creativity and learning. Three, sometimes what you don't know is good for you. And then four, you got to learn not just the technical stuff, but how to be somebody that people creative want to be around and they can trust to be around. You know what I'm saying? Is that fair, Jhair?
1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah. So here, fascinating thing to me is, as I'm a dreamer guy too. So you dream about Dr. Dre, you end up working with him and around him and get to know him, which is insane, right? Don't you just count your lucky stars every day?
Oh my gosh.
How did this happen?
Exactly. No, that was an experience, and it's changed. It changed my whole.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So if somebody hires you, what do you think your signatures are that they're going for? What is it that you do that is uniquely you, that they like?
I think at this point, if you're getting me as a recording engineer and you put me to record vocals, you're going to get great vocals, sure. But I think that I've grown out of that position now where we need to get messy. We need to get crazy. I need a full band. I need chaos.
Oh, I love it.
And I want to be able to like take I love the fact that I can, thanks to Anderson and just like the way he creates and stuff and with the band, and like I've now just I find peace in the chaos now. Like I love taking a fresh jam where they just go for like 30 minutes and then we're like just piecing it together and then turning just these ideas that these guys are all putting together, freely, and then turning it into like a solid idea, a solid song that you get to like enjoy now after, like nice. Taking it from that point to that point. I think that's what people are getting from me as far as a recording engineer. As a mixer, man, I'm going for the guts. I'm not conventional. You said that, I think you were just saying about like there's power in not knowing things. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's like I don't have like a certain rule set that I didn't learn somebody's like method to mixing or anything like that. Like I just go with my gut. I trust my gut 1,000%. I like to, I'll have that kick up there, just punching you in the chest.
Yeah.
That's my thing for sure.
So the thing that I think is fascinating is somebody who loves live music, and kind of the way you describe what you like to do, your new nickname may be Chaos, is it reminds me of Earth, Wind and Fire, frankly. They would just get together, put together crazy stuff. Maurice would say, just, let me capture this and we'll turn it into a snippet or an interlude or just jam and then we'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
And that's high praise. But the other side of it is, if you're that good in the recording studio, when you have the Free Nationals, Anderson Paak, you got to be good live too, correct?
Yeah. And that I think that's what I'm most proud of lately is being able to get out of the studio and jump into that world. And in the role that I'm in, it's completely different than a recording engineer. I mean, there are similarities in the fact that there's a lot of pressure in getting things right. I think that they say it's like the engineer is the only person in the studio that like is expected to get things right the first time, you know, like guitar player can mess up a lick and then, you know, go, oh, let's do it again, you know, but if you fly something around and it's off beat, you know, they're looking at you funny off the rip. Like, it's like, yeah, what happened? What, you know?
Yeah.
And with the live, there's no redos, you know? So, and yeah, there's so much weighing on playback as far as our show. Like, I have time code running to lights, to video, to pyrotechnics. Like, it's a lot of pressure, and it's definitely something that just, man, it's toughened me up for sure.
Amazing.
John, I'm a big fan of Burna Boy. I'd like to have a story. Did you work on the song he did with John Legend?
With Burna Boy, no, I did a track. We did a track for Burna Boy on his Twice as Tall album. It's a song called Alarm Clock. Anderson ended up doing drums over a track he sent to us. It was actually pretty cool. We had Diddy there and got to experience that whole vibe and just, you know, recording with the whole gang.
I love his work. I listen to him a lot in some weird, bizarre way that only I know. He's similar to a lot of what Paak does, you know.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I guess that's why he played drums, you know.
Yeah.
How did the mixing a remix for Paul McCartney come about?
Ooh, yeah.
Man, that was kind of incredible. Yeah, I guess Paul was working, you know, he had put out the album, and then they were simultaneously working on this remix project where everybody took he just sent out, I think, his all the songs of the album, sent out stems and stuff to like all the favorite people that he's inspired by. You know, I feel like it's a lot of the young kids. And just everybody that's just coming up right now that has good sound. I think he just let everybody have a stab at it. I thought it was amazing. I would never think of Paul McCartney doing something like that, but he really gave us some raw vocal stems. And Anderson just hit me up one day at the studio. He's like, hey man, we got to work on this thing. And then he just emailed me the stems really quick, and I was like, is this Paul McCartney? Yeah, Paul McCartney vocals. And and that was actually kind of cool because I learned how to the original take in the vocals that he recorded, they're not to a click, they're not on the grid. He's just him and his guitar.
Nice.
And you know, Anderson's like, he's a drummer, so we got to get that joint on the grid. So yeah, I went through this whole thing and like shifting his vocals around and just getting it nice and tight. And yeah, they went him, Mac DeMarco, and Vicky. They all kind of went I think everybody just had saw the opportunity of working with Paul McCartney and just being able to do something where they all just kind of brought out just their really their funky, just, you know, musicianship that just put it all together. And, you know, Anderson's drums. And then I tried to just make it sound of that time, you know, of Paul's time. And yeah, that was really fun. That was incredible.
I just really quickly, I want to just share one thing, and Dave, hear your question, but to the audience, and I hope I think Jhair will agree with this. One of the things that you want to do is keep your fantasies. You want to keep going, damn, I came over here, I didn't have anything. I worked with Dr. Dre, I remixed Paul McCartney. What the hell? And at my age, I continue to do that. And because it's absolutely amazing. Paul McCartney was one of the first people who blessed our award show. And when he said the name Pensado Place, Dave and I cried.
Yeah.
Like, did Paul McCartney Dave had to pull over, literally.
That's crazy.
But I think sometimes the world gets cast as you being a punk and not being a man enough. Man, you're supposed to dream, enjoy making your dreams.
Yeah.
You know, just say, oh, I'm going to enjoy this moment. And then an engineer for Fleetwood Mac, Richard Dashit, he taught me very early in the game. He was like, man, don't lose your joy. How many people get to do this?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like this is special.
Yeah.
And I think, you being as good as you are in the generation that you're in with the people that you're working with, when people who want to be you see you being that way, it allows them to be that way. You need to take a victory lap when you get to your goal and say, damn, I'm the luckiest cat in the world. So man, I you might not even know that you're doing leadership shit, but you are. And it's important work. It's important work.
That's special. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
that,
man.
Yeah, it's definitely been crazy.
I'll never miss an opportunity to get in as many Dr. Dre questions as I can.
You gotta be careful with those questions. Dr. Dre doesn't like to spill too many secrets.
Just a simple question. What were you most surprised about a technique that he used, or what he thinks about 808s? That would be a surprise. What kind of surprise? And I respect that, by the way, because you and I both have major respect for Dre. I've done some mixes for him too. I was mixing for him the day the World Trade Center went down too.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
What surprised you the most about something with him in terms of mixing?
I guess not knowing how he was before going in to those sessions. And I gotta say, man, being able to go through 2 albums that I recorded alongside with him, and like him and the Aftermath family mixing those records together, that was incredible. It was like it was amazing, and it was nerve-wracking at times because it was kind of like, I don't even know what to equate it to. It's like getting your math test like graded live in front of you, he's like looking back at like the decisions you make as a recording engineer, and he's got to mix it. Honestly, man, his clarity on his mixes is crazy. The punch he gets out of stuff, and like
unreal. Going
in, we had the records. We were so proud of those songs. We were like, man, this is amazing. All these things, like before we got to go into record 1 with him, we already had, a big batch of songs that we had done at our spot. And we were so like, man, this sounds amazing. This is so great. And I remember just going in there, and he like throws all the tracks on the board, does his thing. And then next thing you know, he's like A-Bing my mix versus his. And I'm like,
wow.
All right. Yeah, I guess it.
Wow. Wow.
What was different? What was different, John?
I think I was in the box a lot, and I had done a Mix with the Masters seminar actually with Andrew Sheps in France.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And he, his whole thing is parallel compressing everything. Yeah. So I just had overdone it completely. I came back from that trip and I was just parallel compressing everything. And like, it was just all just, it just had like I don't know. I had just overdone it. I overcooked those songs at that point. And Dre, when he touched it, man, it just, the spread on everything, the touch, just the crispy high end, like it all just kind of like, oh, okay, I get it.
Wow.
I had a demo and I thought it was ready. No, he made it, he made it happen. Yeah.
I'll give you some premature marriage advice. You really need to use a little bit of parallel compression in a marriage. So just want to let that go out.
Definitely.
And now you know why Dave is single.
Don't tell my wife that.
We'll leave that for another day. So now here's the other thing that's interesting. When you get to your goals, generally new goals come up. And, you kind of have to constantly, like the best that we meet, and, in the way what we've been considered among that class, which is always a blessing. Most of the people I know, including myself and others, are never satisfied. You're never there. You get to a certain there, and then there's the next there. Is that correct?
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because And it's not that I'm not happy of where I'm at or where you go. You know, I think we're always grateful. Like you said, like our worst days in this are better than, you know, my best days when I was working in the stockroom at Victoria's Secret.
Yeah.
I'll take a bad session over folding censoring panties in the back room in the stockroom, you know, for sure.
For some people, censoring panties is their goal.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Dave.
Wow, I was reading your bio. I just got lost. Gee, bio.
There's things that we hit as a team together. Even just you didn't even know that was a thing. Like when Anderson gave me during the quarantine my first shot at mixing the Lockdown record. And at that point, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is my first major label mix. This is the first time somebody's giving me my shot, you know, to finally for it to say mixed by Jhair, you know?
Yes, sir.
And then it turns around, gets Grammy nominated, and then it wins. Like, that was something I didn't know, you know, was it like, what? Like, whose first mix does that, you know, like you know, that really blew my mind, and I was like, oh, okay, well, that's something off the bucket list, you know, for sure. You know, that, and I think I think it's gonna in the future, it's just gonna be an accumulation of those kinds of moments where somebody's gonna remind you. I think it's like when like the basketball players are like in the middle of a game, and then they're like, hey, you know, you just broke this record. Right. You're like, oh, and they're like, oh, really? You know, like it's just kind of one of those things.
Well, think about it. We've been talking for however long, and we have not mentioned that you worked on Nas and that you worked on John Legend. And obviously Burna Boy came up. Like that's sidebar conversation.
I'm just so lucky, man. It's
well, and also let's be clear. Lucky is part of it, but you earned it, and that's the other part I tell folks. They got to really understand, like these aren't layups that are gifted to you. These are opportunities. If you're not ready, if you don't step in, step up, take the challenge. Most of us are scared when we take the challenge, and it's going to be that way your whole career. Doesn't matter how big you get, there's another level of challenges, and the best step up to the challenge all the time. And sometimes you fail, and you learn from failure, right?
1,000%.
Yeah,
you definitely fall on your face sometimes, but you know, it's just, you know, like I said, it's just the worst. Your worst days are still not as bad.
Better than Victoria's Secret censoring panties.
Yeah,
for sure. Your wife's going to kill me. Your wife to be. So I'm going to stop with this.
No, she's good. She's good.
Oh yeah. Now, Dave, you doing a batter's box?
Oh yeah.
So I think. Look, one of the things Jhair looks like he knows what he needs to do with a baseball bat, whether it's hit a ball or hit somebody over the head with it. Yeah, maybe the latter. Well, we got a talented cat here who is amazing. So you know what batter's box it is, Dave. Why don't you tee it up?
Okay. Favorite compressor?
LA2A.
Nice.
Strings.
Peter Lee Johnson.
Ooh.
It's gonna be tough, Herb.
Ooh.
808s.
Gain Station. Shout out to Mike Dean for that one.
Lack of gain staging. Saturation.
Ooh, Saturn. FabFilter.
Limiting.
Another FabFilter Pro L2.
Reverb.
I'm going with the trusty Bahala vintage verb. That's just
summing.
Burl.
He's good, Herb. He's good. I might need a relief pitcher.
I'm here.
Loops.
Ooh, loops, man. J-Mo has probably one of the best loops, I feel.
Okay, I'm throwing you a curveball. Condoms.
The gold wraps, baby.
All right. I quit.
Here's what the funny part is.
I just quit.
The funny part is Dave has no idea what the gold wraps are. so
that's very true. That's really true.
And my philosophy is don't use them. So that's a whole that's a whole. I'm not saying don't be
actually
safe.
at this point, yeah. What is a condom?
Yeah, what is a condom? Right. It's a condominium. That's what it is.
Yeah, I like saying that word. I don't know why. Good stuff, man. Real good stuff.
Well, and I also want to point this out because I think this is important.
I just tore up my nose.
Oh no, we're good.
I forgot I got another segment to do.
No, we're getting ready to wrap up. But one of the things I really want to mention is the cultures that make for greatness sometimes come from all kinds of places. You've come from El Salvador. You have seen both sides of that equation, good and bad. And I think it has steeled you for moving it forward, and your influences that you bring to it and how you accept other influences and stuff like that. It's I'll use a Dr. Dre correlation. I think that Dr. Dre, as funky as he is and what he puts in a track, those are all melodic pop hooks. And I don't care how black they are pop hook. You don't even know you're being hooked.
Yeah.
And he's hitting you with all kinds of different directions. And you just go, something amazing has happened to me. I'm not sure what it is. You know what I'm saying? So, in closing, give some advice to the audience. What would you share with them?
Man, I'd say like that's our favorite saying, I think within the camp is trust your gut, man. Like just go with it, and man, be careful, obviously, but just trust your gut. Go head out, go head on. Don't slow up for anything. Like there is, especially within this industry, there's a lot of sacrifices. And there's a lot of humble pie you got to eat, and some of it is granted unnecessary. It can be, just certain things that are just toxic practices that are, that seem to still stick around. But, at the end of the day, it's like, just go, man. Just go wholeheartedly, go with your heart, trust your gut, man. Don't let up for nothing. And you're going to see something happen for sure.
Absolutely. Dave, give us what you say.
Okay. What I got from you, Ja, is particularly when I was reading about you, is your concept of perseverance over passion. Passion by itself is cool, but you had the perseverance to go through like a puzzle, and then you've worked with guys like Jean-Marie. You really made it about the journey and not the destination. And I think we should focus more on perseverance and less on passion.
And I think for our audience, just to sum all that up, you take Jhair's thing about trust your gut, you take Dave's thing about continue with passion, with a little bit of, as Mark Cuban says, you can control your own effort. If you put those combinations together and you got any skills whatsoever, you're halfway to the finish line. So take all that advice, do something with it, and we'll see you guys next week.